Okay, so if you looked at universe, I have universe, okay? And then I would fill it in. I'm assuming laws is an important word, and it's not always this way, so I don't want you to think that you just pick a word and it's important and it has to be stressed, because it's not always the case. What you think is important is kind of arguable, but we do have this repetition of the no, so that could also be important, but it happens that the unstressed syllables land on the nose, okay? So it looks like we have 3 trochees. I'm sorry, not trochees, iambs. We have 3 iambs, okay? So it is iambic. And because there's 3, trimeter. All right. So I hope that this extra help has been helpful and productive for you. Remember that you really need to know those terms. Other things in the quiz will include a little bit of information on the Romantic poets or the Romantic movement, so Romanticism, and what it was sort of a reaction to. What kind of values, so it's a reaction to something, beliefs and thoughts that came before it. It has certain preferences or values. And when I say it, I'm really referring to the poets, the artists, the people who were pushing forward this train of thought. So they have these certain values, which is represented in poetry by certain characteristics of the way that they form their thoughts. And it's also reflected in form. Speaking of form, we also want to know the form and characteristic of those fireside poets that we talked about. Okay, so again, characteristics. That we would identify fireside poetry by. You want to be familiar with Byron's poem that we went over in class. So Byron's She Walks in Beauty. And again, I'm really sorry, I can barely write in a straight line. And I can barely spell as well. Too many things going on at once holding this camera. And then you're also going to want to know about the other poem that we did in class called Psalm of Life. And I know that we only did meter with the one poem that we worked on today on Old Ironsides. But at this point, because you should be, number one, familiar with and able to work with those various poetic terms, those literary terms, like the figurative language, such as repetition and imagery. You should be able to apply those literary terms to a reading of a poem. So if I was to ask you, what does Byron mean in this excerpt, or what does Longfellow mean in this particular portion of Psalm of Life, or what does it seem like Old Ironside values, I'm hoping that you will have been comfortable enough with the skills that we've worked on that even in a fresh reading of it in terms of content, because we only worked with form, that you'll be able to apply what you know and how we've worked with these two to what we're seeing in Old Ironside. Okay, so this is really going to be matching. Most of the rest of it is going to be multiple choice, and then there will be a portion where you're going to see examples like this, and then you're going to have to identify the type of meter. Okay, so again, hope that this review, where is my actual key? The front side of this one has the key in case you need it again. hopefully you can see it all. And I will see you tomorrow to work with these steps for extra meter practice if you can come. If you can't, pop by with any questions before homeroom. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for listening and watching.